The things we need to keep in mind for somebody who's over 40 years old. We need to make sure that you're still training heavy, because without heavy, nothing happens. Without strength, without gaining strength, becoming stronger. And I know there's people out there that'll say, oh, you can't get any, if you're not strong by 40, it's just never gonna happen for you. I've heard professional bodybuilders say that. That's tragic and totally untrue. Hi, my name is Jaquish. I'm a doctor of biomedical engineering, which gives me a unique perspective. Today, I'm going to talk about building muscle after turning 40. So when we look at super athletic people, the outliers, the guys who built a lot of muscle and stayed natural, or my case is a little unique. I had some severe testicular damage in my 20s, so I ended up getting on TRT really early. TRT didn't do much for me. And then I started training with variable resistance. The things we need to keep in mind for somebody who's over 40 years old. We need to make sure that you're still training heavy, because without heavy, nothing happens. Without strength, without gaining strength, becoming stronger. And I know there's people out there that'll say, oh, you can't get any, if you're not strong by 40, it's just never gonna happen for you. I've heard professional bodybuilders say that. That's tragic and totally untrue. They may think that because a lot of bodybuilders have a career that's, or they have a progress path that kind of hits some plateaus, and they believe it has to do with their age. I believe it's because they rely on the response of the performance enhancing drugs and aren't actually focused on the training. And now we know that those two things are decoupled. Growth from anabolics and growth from training are actually separate, not synergistic. They're just different mechanisms. Now that we know that, what we need to look at is what is required for a guy or a woman over 40 years old to get muscular stimulus and growth with every workout. So we need a strategy for this. We need to be able to have the highest possible load, but we need to mitigate risk. And one of the things I see, especially recently in the bodybuilding community, is this just focusing on the stretched range of motion. Now, the people who are recommending this also recommend volume training, which is something else that doesn't work. But the hilarious part is, so what you're doing is you're trying to focus more load in the place where you are most likely to injure. Does that sound dumb? Because it is. That idea really comes from the fact that when you're doing just a straight weight set, where do you go to failure? Not up here. You go to failure where you're weakest. The stretched range of motion is also the weakest range of motion. And it is that way because you have less mechanical advantages just based on bones and tendon insertions. You have the least amount of muscular activity and the highest potential for injury. So what we really want, we still want to go to fatigue there. And keep in mind, all this is based on the observation is you just go to failure at the bottom, so that must be the powerful position. No. There's research that shows you can gain just as much muscle from doing isometrics, which is zero range of motion. That's a frozen position. Because if you just focus on mechanical tension and building mechanical tension in those positions, that in itself will create growth. So what we need is a strategy so that we can get more mechanical tension through the muscle where the muscle is stronger and less where the muscle is compromised, or more to the point where the joints are compromised. So we're being protective of joints and being super aggressive with the force so that we stimulate the greatest amount of growth. And this is like the thesis around variable resistance training. And if you look at when I do variable resistance training, like my deadlift, I'm holding 250 pounds at the bottom. I'm holding 620 pounds at the top. And when I go to fatigue, first, I just can't get to the top, so the reps get a little bit shorter, and then they get shorter and shorter and shorter until my last rep is 1 inch. I'm gonna go to momentary muscular failure maybe 10 times in that first set. That's almost like doing 10 first sets, because your first set is the one that counts the most. That's where you have the muscle full of glycogen. So if you take that and you get to multiple fatigue points in that one set, you are set up for growth, and you did not undergo any unnecessary risks. In fact, you lowered your risk profile from regular weight training. And this is part of the reason I wrote the book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. Notice I didn't call it resistance training is a waste of time, because variable resistance is phenomenal. What you want is that strategy so that you can get the most tension through the muscle, the most fatigue in a very short period of time. You are set up to grow. Nothing's ever going to change that, and all of the research supports that. In fact, I'll put up a bunch of studies about variable resistance and how variable resistance is always seen to elicit much faster gains in strength, and a stronger muscle is a bigger muscle. Hope that helped. We'll see you in the next one.
If this video helped you, I want you to subscribe and follow. I'm going to put out videos on a regular basis. I think they're going to help a whole lot of people, especially if you're one of those people that doesn't just instantly grow from lifting regular weights. We've got the answer for you.